This may be a hot take, but I think that steroid use gets too much of an easy ride, a free pass on YouTube and social media. That might sound odd to say, considering there are lots of videos online telling us just how dangerous steroids are and why we shouldn't do them, all the risks, etc. But I think with many of them, there is an undertone of, ultimately it's your choice. It doesn't make you a bad person, don't think any less of you. And there are pros and cons, and there are easier ways to go about it. If you're going to do steroids, then just at least make sure you do it as safely as possible. And whilst that's an admirable way to go about it, and I do understand it, I obviously don't think it makes you a bad person. I obviously think you have the right to do whatever you want with your body. But I think by, being a bit relaxed and trying to be fair, you actually end up downplaying just how silly and lame steroids really are. In particular, how they actually don't enhance your performance at all, quite the opposite. So I'm going to use the language now that I often use with my daughter, which is to say that, yeah, using steroids doesn't make you a stupid person, but you are being stupid if you use them. I think for many people it seems like something of a trade-off. So you're understanding the risks, you're going into this fully aware of what could happen to you, but you're choosing to do it anyways because you want to reach the very peak of human performance. You want to be as strong as you can, as powerful as you can be. You want to be at the very top of your chosen sport or activity. And that makes it kind of sound, dramatic and maybe even somewhat romantic, when in fact that's not what's going on here at all. Because using steroids doesn't make you more functional. It might make you stronger in some capacities, might make you look bulkier and more impressive, but the downsides in terms of your performance are just as profound as the, potential risks to your health. So this isn't a Faustian bargain that's going to make you into a superhero, it's just lame.
Huh?
So for starters, steroid use is going to impair your mobility, make you more likely to injure your tendons, and cause stiffness and awkward movement. You might think that sounds a little bit hyperbolic, having seen, I'm sure, some very high-performing steroid users, on the internet, but they are the exception, and also they're working against the steroids. They're in that way in spite of the steroids, not because of them.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
When you use steroids, your muscles grow very quickly compared to how they normally would. You become more anabolic, and this happens because you have androgen receptors in the muscles which respond to that and they build more muscle. You increase protein synthesis. However, you don't have the same blood supply, you don't have the same androgen receptors in the tendons, and therefore the tendons grow at a slower rate than the muscles. This is true all the time, but when you start using steroids, then the muscles are going to go like that, and the tendons are going to go like that. So that increased muscle strength means you're far more likely to pull something, tear something, create injuries that otherwise wouldn't happen. And it actually goes beyond this because a lot of steroids will also impair your collagen production. And this is a key factor in building and maintaining the elasticity and the structure of the tendons. So with that impaired, they're actually going to be weaker even once they catch up to the muscles. So now you've got these big bulbous muscles, but these weaker, tighter tendons that just haven't caught up. And at the same time, you're very likely to develop imbalances because certain muscle groups develop faster than others. Very few gym programs, gym routines perfectly balance everything that you're going to be doing, especially if you're more interested in just aesthetics, meaning that you're going to be tight in some areas, overgrown in some areas, and smaller in others. And
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now. Stop the cap.
I think that you're picturing right now what I'm talking about. The typical steroid user who walks around like this, like a gorilla. It is possible to have big muscle and great mobility and movement. It is possible to be on steroids and have great mobility and movement, but it's much, much harder. And for some bodybuilders, it can become pretty ridiculous once they stop being able to do things like putting on their socks. I mean, is that really what you want? Is that more functional? Is that more awesome? I don't think so. The truth of the matter is that using steroids will obviously make you stronger, it will help you to recover faster from your workouts, and this is going to be a big draw for a lot of people. There's no getting away from the fact that untested powerlifting competitions have bigger lifts than tested ones. If you're plateauing, if you can't lift any more despite your best efforts, then steroids will likely give you that edge and get you to that point where you can lift a bit more. There's no getting around the fact that bodybuilding is more effective with steroids, and in fact you can't even compete in the regular classes in professional bodybuilding unless you're using steroids. That's just the fact of the matter, and I'm talking copious amounts as well. But all of these things come with caveats. So obviously, yeah, you're going to get a bigger bench press if you add steroids.
Hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
And all this, but this is one of the reasons I always want to emphasize that strength isn't everything when it comes to your performance. Because whilst you might have more brute power, especially because you've been training all that stuff for so long, it's not really going to translate necessarily to better movement. Someone who's much bigger and stronger doesn't throw a harder punch, a better punch, more powerful punch than a martial artist, because they're able to keep their body loose, they're able to reduce the effect of the antagonistic muscles, you know, the ones pulling against you as you're pushing forwards. They're able to relax the whole body, they're able to generate power by twisting the hips. All this stuff is why Grant's punches look so much more powerful and quick than mine do. And this is true for all kinds of activities, whether you're sprinting, whether you're throwing, whether you're lifting something off the ground.
Productive powers are a gift from God or chance or a stray shot of sperm or whatever, or whoever the hell wrote your life script. A gift, not earned. You do not know what I know because you have not earned those powers.
Now, a natural lifter is going to get much better at things like, you know, picking things up off the ground, doing bench press, and using steroids can get them a little bit further in that. But the steroids themselves aren't giving you those neural patterns. They aren't helping you recruit more muscle fiber. They're giving you that extra muscle, but ultimately you have to learn how to use it yourself still. If you just use steroids and you're not someone who's already at the very top of their game in powerlifting, you're not going to see a huge leap in strength because you can't use that muscle. I've used this example plenty of times before, but it's like being Captain Ginyu. When he takes Goku's body, he might have the muscle and the strength and the power, but he doesn't know how to use it, he doesn't have the technique, and so a more frail body is still able to beat him. And this is something I really want to focus on because I think a lot of guys are so desperate to be tough and to be powerful so that they're imposing, so they're alpha, etc. But steroids don't get you there because that isn't what makes you tough and powerful. And you're only going to get a bigger deadlift if you're already extremely good at the deadlift and then you're just adding this on top.